Now move towards the multiplication, repeated addition. Solve for multiply by 3. For multiply by 3 means the digit 3 is 4 times repeated. So first of all move to the number 3 and then move to the number 3 steps more, the number 6, and then move 3 steps more to the number 9, and also move 3 steps more to the number 12. So the answer would be 12. Let's move towards the properties of multiplication. First property, number A, is the product of two whole numbers is a whole number. As we can see that if we multiply two whole numbers, then the result would also be a whole number. 13 multiplied by 1 is equal to 13. Both of these values are whole numbers and the result is also a whole number. 5 multiplied by 0, both of these values are whole number and the result is also a whole number. 23 multiplied by 2 is equal to 46. Both of these values are whole number and the result is also a whole number. This is the closure property of multiplication, which means that in which two values multiply and the result would also belongs to that property. The closure property also applies to the natural numbers. Property number B is the product of two whole numbers remains unchanged if the numbers interchange their places. It means that if we multiply two values and the answer would be same if we change their positions and then multiply. For example, 12 multiplied by 5 is equal to 60. If we change their positions, then it would become 5 multiplied by 12. So the answer is also same 60 by multiplying 12 multiplied by 5 and 5 multiplied by 12. Both have the same answer. This is the commutative property of multiplication, in which if we change the position of the number, then the result would not be vary. The commutative property also applies to natural numbers. Here we read the examples of whole numbers. It can also be applied to natural numbers. Next property number C is the product of three numbers taken in a particular order is unchanged if the grouping of the numbers is altered. It means that if we multiply three numbers by changing their grouping, the answer would not be changed. Let's see here examples are 4 multiplied by 5 multiplied by 6 can be grouped into the following ways. We can group into the three different ways, and that is 4 multiplied by 5. First group is this, multiplied by 6. The answer would be 4 multiplied by 5 is equal to 20 and 6 multiplied by 20 is equal to 120. We can change their grouping like as 4 multiplied by 5 multiplied by 6. Here is the grouping of 5 multiplied by 6, which is 5 multiplied by 6 is equal to 30 and 4 multiplied by 30 is equal to 120. We can see that the result is not changing. Now change the grouping 4 multiplied by 6. Now in this group the elements are 4 multiplied by 6 multiplied by 5, which is equal to 4 multiplied by 6, as we know that 24 multiplied by 5 is equal to 120. The result of the three values are same. It doesn't matter if we change their grouping. This is the associative property of multiplication, in which we multiplying the values. Now move to the property number D, that is the product of a whole number and 0 is 0. If we multiply 0 to any whole number, the answer would be 0. As we can see that 4 multiplied by 0 is equal to 0 and 0 multiplied by 0 is also 0. 0 multiplied by 15 is equal to 0. Property number E is the product of a whole number and the sum of two or more whole numbers grouped together is equal to the sum of the products of the former numbers and each of the group numbers. For example, students, you can clearly understood this property by go through the example. That is here 5 multiplied by 6 plus 7. Here is that the product of a whole number and the sum of two or more whole numbers. We can see that product of a whole number and the sum of two or more whole numbers, as there is sum of two numbers is equal to the sum of the product of the former numbers. As we can see here, the sum of the product of the former numbers and also each of the group number. 5 multiplied by 6 plus 7 is equal to, we will solve round bracket first. So 5 multiplied by 6 plus 7 is equal to 13, and by multiplying both these values the result is 65. And now we can see that 5 is multiplying by both of these values, both of inner values. So 5 multiplied by 6 plus 5 multiplied by 7, which is equal to, by solving 5 multiplied by 6 is 30 and 5 multiplied by 7 is 35. Now adding both of these values, the answer is 65. We can see here both have the same result. So in order to combine it, we can write it as 5 multiplied by 6 plus 7 is equal to 5 multiplied by 6 Means 5 is multiplying with 6 and also 5 is multiplying with 7, and both of these values are adding up. This is the distributive property of multiplication over addition. Multiplication, we can see here, this is the property of distributive, as digit 5 is multiplying by both of the inner values. So the property is distributive of multiplication over addition. So now students, the distributive property of the multiplication over addition also applies to natural numbers, as here are whole numbers. Now part number 4 is division repeated subtraction. It means the values will be repeated and also subtracted. Solve 10 divided by 2. So first of all, move to the number 10 and then move backward. In order to subtraction, we know that the numbers are moved backward, not forward. So move backward 2 steps, 1, 2, the answer is 8. And next move 2 steps more backward and 6 and 4 and 2 and also 0. 10 is reduced to 0 if 2 is subtracted repeatedly 5 times from 8. It means that 10 divided by 2 is equal to 5. Let's move towards the properties of addition. And part A is if a whole number is divided by another non-zero whole number. If we divide a whole number to another non-zero whole number, the result quotient is not necessarily a whole number. For example, 10 divided by 5 is equal to 2. The answer of 10 divided by 5 is 2, which is a whole number. 10 chocolates shared by 2 children. Next one is 2 divided by 4. So if we solve this, 2 divided by 4, it is not a whole number. The answer would not be a whole number. Means 2 chocolates shared by 4 children. Here 2 is not a multiple of 4, whereas 10 is a multiple of 5. We know that 10 is a multiple of 5, as 5 2s are 10 in the first case. Part number B is the quotient of a whole number and another non-zero whole number changes if the dividend and the divisor interchanges places. As we know that the dividend is that value which we are going to divide, and the divisor is that by which the value is divided. For example, 8 divided by 4 is equal to 2. So this is a whole number. 4 divided by 8, if we change their places, then it would not be a whole number. That is why certainly not a whole number. 8 divided by 4 is not equals to 4 divided by 8, which means that by changing their positions of dividend and divisor, the answer is not equal, which means that the commutative property does not apply to the division of a whole numbers. Let's move towards the property number C. 3 whole numbers are taken in a particular order and the quotient of the first and the second is divided by the third. The result is not the same as when the first is divided by the quotient of the second and third. For example, students, you can clearly understood this property from the example. For example, 8 divided by 4 divided by 2 is equal to. By dividing 8 divided by 4, the answer is 2. And by dividing 2 and 2, the answer is 1. If we change their grouping, then 8 divided by 4 divided by 2. By solving the round bracket, the answer is 2. And now 8 divided by 2 is equal to 4. We can see that here is not the answer same. So 8 divided by 4 divided by 2 is not equal to 8 divided by 4 divided by 2, which means that the associative property does not apply to the division of a whole number. Property number D is a whole number divided by 1 gives a quotient, which is the number itself. For example, 4 divided by 1 is equal to 4. We can see that by dividing the digit 4 to the 1, the answer is 4, which means the number is itself in the answer. 0 divided by 1 is equal to 0. This is also shows that the answer is the number itself. Let's move towards the property E, which is 0 divided by any non-zero whole number will give 0 as quotient. For example, 0 divided by 5 is equal to 0 and 0 divided by 4 is equal to 0. We can see that in both of these examples the quotient is 0. Students, these are all about the properties of addition, multiplication, subtraction and division. Hope so you all have clearly understood and go through it. So stay home, stay blessed. Allah Hafiz.